This is my computer science project to help the high school tennis team have sparring partners and hitting partners over the course of the off season and find new players to play with. As soon as the user enters the application, they see a login page with a username field and a password field. Only users who are registered as admins on the database will have access to the program. Thus, any malicious users that try to enter the system will not be able to do so and will see an error message pop up on the screen. In contrast, when a valid user enters their information into the system, they will see a green message slide down from the top of the GUI and will gain access to the player list. This list displays all the players who are currently registered on the application and some of the information pertaining to them, such as their age, the campus they go to, as well as their gender. The user can select any of the players present on the list and double-click on them to see in-depth information regarding their attributes, such as their age, backhand strength, and forehand strength. These attributes will be used by the matching algorithm to find their most compatible match. This page can also be used by the user in order to make edits to the attributes of any given player. The user's edits must be validated so that false or incorrect information is not transmitted to the database. In case of this program, each attribute has a range of values which are acceptable. For example, the age cannot be negative and it must be within the bounds of 13 and 20 years. If these conditions are not met, then an error message pops up on the screen and requests the user to correct the information in the given field. Such data validation exists for all the fields on this page. For example, the backhand, forehand, and serve fields cannot be over 20 and less than 1. In addition, the phone number field cannot be more than 8 digits long. Since we do not want to save our changes, we can click the Cancel button and return back to the player list. If the user wishes to add new players into the program, they can click on the top left side of the GUI on the menu button and click the Create New Player button. This will direct them to a Google form which they can fill out with the information of the new player. Similarly to the user editor, we cannot have malicious and false data going into the database. Thus, we still need to use data validation in this case. For example, we cannot enter a string as an age, since the value of the age has to be between 12 and 20. In addition, the phone number has to be under 8 digits, just like the validation for the user editor. The entire Google form is filled with data validation for each field, thus it limits the chance of malicious data entering the database. Once the user is finished entering all the fields correctly, then they can click on the Submit button at the bottom of the Google form, which will transmit the data from the Google form into the database. If we head back over to our database now, we can see the old list of students. But now, when we refresh this table, we will be able to see that the new student has been added into the database. This change will also be reflected on the GUI of our program. As we can see, there is a fifth player that has been added into the program. If any of the information inputted in the Google form was incorrect, we can edit it on the user editor and save the changes into the database. Furthermore, if the chosen user has left the school or is no longer part of the school team, we can delete their information by clicking the Delete User button, which will result in the user being deleted from the database and no longer appearing on the player list. Any attributes of any player edited on the program will automatically update the database once the Save Changes button is clicked on the user editor. The changes are reflected on the player list, but if we head over to our database and we refresh it, we will be able to see that the user's information on the database has also been updated accordingly. Another feature of this program is the Find Matches button. This will find the most optimal match for each tennis player registered on the application and then display it to the user. In addition, every single one of the tennis players will receive an email from the program which will inform them of their opponent's identity. This is an email received by one of the players who are registered on the application. As we can see, it was delivered by the program at this moment, and it provides the player with the name of their opponent as well as their contact number so that the player can schedule a game at his or her convenience. One of the problems that could have arisen from this program is that two players are matched too frequently because they are great matches for one another, and they would always end up playing each other. To combat this, the partnerships created by the algorithm are stored in a database table called match history. When the matching algorithm runs again, it will exclude any matches that are the same as match history. Thus, all the players in the application will be facing off against a new player, and thus will be able to gain more experience. As we can see, when we've run the algorithm again, it has given us different partnerships compared to what was in match history. For now, we've been testing our algorithm with 4 players, thus there will be a match for each and every player. But if there are an odd number of players in the database, then one player will be excluded from the matching algorithm. However, the player excluded will be different each and every time the program is run, since the match history database table will not allow the same partnership to occur on 2 consecutive runs of the program. Finally, if the player list only has 1 player or 0 players, then when the Find Matches button is clicked, it will inform the user to add more students into the system before they try to use this algorithm.